taught us taught me a lesson that we can make it through the storms, right? And so having parents that push, so you parents or grandparents, I'm a new grandpa now, for you new grandparents here, I mean, push and encourage your kids, that even when they don't want to do something, say, yes, you are going. And I'm so grateful to have parents that really push that on me. And those were some of the main attributes that will make an individual successful, make a troop successful, and more importantly, you guys, really change a community. So just want to share those things here with you. Glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Karen?
It's Teron.
Teron, thank you.
But as I aforementioned, Teron Richardson, Life Scout on my road to Eagle, a senior at Tinley Accelerated High School. And just scouting in general, like the gentleman said earlier, when people are hesitant about it, just look at the scout law, the 12 points. Scout is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. You know, and as a scout, it's not only our duty to demonstrate those while we're in our troop and we have people watching us, but as well as take that outside of scouting in our lives that we deal with at school and society that we have today. So it's our duty, going back to the Scout Oath, our duty to God and our community to demonstrate those when people aren't watching, have that integrity to do the right thing. And the traits that we learn in scouting and we develop, and as it cultivates us, it's our job to take that out and apply that to the real world. And that's what scouting does. It's getting you ready for the real world. It may not have the same scenarios or the same obstacles, but it prepares you for what you're going to face in the real world. And that's why I appreciate scouting as much as I do today.
Kim and Sandra, I'm so happy to hear that Eastern Star is restarting the troop. That's my church, and I'm proud of all the work that Eastern Star does around the world. Pastor Johnson's leadership in giving back to the community, to the world community, is just phenomenal for all of us. And Bill Shrewsbury is an elder in our church, and Mayman Powers just left. He's also a member, and others of you may be members as well. I want to talk more directly about financial support, and I want to preface it with Lacey and Jim came up as a way of doing it. And so we all started thinking about what are some of the best mentoring organizations in Indianapolis and even around the world that could be examples for us. And the one that came up for young men over and above all was scouting. And I could easily relate to that because, as I said, I was Cub Scout and Boy Scout. I didn't mention that I was also an explorer. I was in the medical explorers, which let me know I did not want to be a doctor. But at least I learned then, before, wasting time in college pursuing something that wasn't of interest to me. And so with that mentorship, I feel like, what can we all do to make it better? Well, you've heard a lot of that here today. And to the troop leader, Nathan, I just want to kind of echo something that you said. You went around to see if there was a scout troop. There wasn't. They asked you who could lead, and there was no one to do it that you could identify, and you stepped up to do it. And I'm busy in many organizations and could not do what I do for scouting, but I just made time. A number of the scout leaders had come to me asking me about coming on the board and becoming president of the scouts. And I'm chairman of Eskenazi Health Foundation now, and I'm treasurer for Riley and many other boards that I serve on around the country. I did not have time. However, when we were talking about mentoring, we're in a real battle in terms of mentoring. And that battle's with the gangs. And sometimes I think they're out mentoring us because they always have time. They have 24/7. You don't have a place to stay, you can stay with them. You don't have food, they'll feed you. They'll give you hands-on training. Hands-on. They're never too busy. We don't want our kids learning what they'll teach them. So we got to step up. You know, and I knew Sam and Jim Morris had both been leaders of our local Crossroads Scout troop, and they had gotten me involved in many ways. And so I made time because it's a high priority. And so I become president of the organization in January. And it's very, very important to me. And there are three major ways to give. You can give your time, you can give your talent, and you can give your treasure. And we, really like to ask you to step up and give all three. And so we talked about all three today. You've heard examples of them. Joe Wiltrout gave us some numbers to show us what it costs to support a scout. You have your cards there on the table. Front and back are very relevant because on the front is how you can give dollars. We ask everyone to give a minimum of $12.95 to support a scout for a year. And I always use the term give or get. Help us raise money. Maybe if you can't do it, you could give part and you could find others that would contribute. But there are other giving levels, like even supporting sponsoring a patrol at $12,950. And then we have giving plans, like, you can support monthly, quarterly to fulfill your pledge. But we ask that, you make a gift in 2019. There are 9 predominantly African American troops in our area, and we have a real deficit of about $200,000 a year, in terms of sponsoring and supporting more troops. I plan to step in and fill that lurch. Like Lacey, I'll get with Joe and Debbie and Victor and sit down and figure out exactly what I'm going to do and how I'm going to do it, because I'll have other commitments to scouting in addition to this, and we'll figure out how I should allocate those dollars. But I've also made the time commitment in terms of being president of the organization, and will donate time, Nathan, to coming out and speaking to scout troops and being an example, and anything that I can do to help you do your job. So feel free to call on me for that. And so I ask that each of you donate time, talent, and treasure to help us completely. Help. Jarnell mentioned her 2 brothers that are very close friends of mine, and I know that they'll step up and give because they always do. Others of you have other names that you would think that you believe will support. Please get those names to Debbie so that we can reach out to them and make them part of this effort to really bridge that gap and make a difference in our young folks' lives. And then as you fill out your card with any pledge that you make here today, our scouts are here to take up that card. And folks see me, they say, well, John, you do this, you do that. I'm telling you, I'm a beneficiary of people giving. My family had less than nothing. And like Tehran, I was involved in many programs. Boy Scouts, Cub Scouts, Boy Scouts, Explorers, but many other programs. And in every case, it was because of someone else's largesse. And when they say it takes a whole village, it does. And that village is us. And we got to give back. So help us identify others. I know some had to leave early. We may have gone over time a bit, but I know I can reach out to all of them, and they'll pour out dollars. Everyone that's left early. I know them all extremely well. So I know they're going to give and support. So let's broaden this group. So I want to thank you for that. And And Debbie, I want to turn it back over to you.
Thank you, John, and thank you to all of you all who were willing to and able to participate in this breakfast this morning. Once again, we want to thank our hosts, Jim Morris and Lacey Johnson, for being here this morning. There's nothing else to say other than God's word. So, Pastor Watlington, would you please provide the benediction?